Hey guys, today I'm going to do a demo read of a chart, and we're going to be looking specifically at questions around money, finances, career, work, and being creatively fulfilled. We're going to take a look at what kinds of things we can look at in a chart to understand some of the bigger issues that are going on. And this woman, Cal, is basically asking, why are things not flowing easier? She knows her gifts. She knows what she's good at. She knows what she's here to do and meant to do. Why are there so many obstacles and things just seemingly running into problem after problem and not flowing the way she wants it to be? And maybe you can relate. Maybe you've been in a period of life where you've experienced the same thing. We're going to look at, in this particular case, what's up, what's the underlying story, and most importantly, what can she do to proactively bring some new energy, different approach to allowing the career, the work, the finance stuff to take off in the right direction. So Cal asks specifically, number one, according to my chart, what industry or type of career would I be most successful in? Number two, how do I best use my astrology to find work that satisfies me creatively, emotionally, and financially? Number three, in the short term, what's the best way I can support myself financially? And number four, why has it felt like I keep running into walls when it comes to jobs and finances? Any way to change this? All right, so let's go ahead and pull up her chart and take a look at what is happening. So we've got Cal's chart here. I'm working with the whole sign system, which, by the way, I've recently been moving towards more and more. I used Placidus to read charts for most of my life. And recently, over the past several months, I've been drawn to move more in the direction of working with whole sign. I'll probably post a long video about this separately. But in this case, what I did was check out the major transits we're looking at in both systems. And the example transits that I'm going to walk you through are actually the same in either system. But all that, for what it's worth, we're working in whole sign, and we've got Cal's chart pulled up here. We've got her natal chart, and then we have a snapshot of what is going on right at this moment in comparison to her natal chart. So let's dive in. The very first thing I'm always going to look at when reading a chart is current, immediate, or recent transits, major ones, and how they're playing out in a person's chart and what story these transits are telling. What's going on here? Now, we had a new moon about a week ago as of this recording that was super powerful and significant. It was a new moon that was in opposition to Pluto, as well as several other interesting factors that made it quite strong and quite transformational. Now, this new moon a week ago, it was on the 17th. It happened in Cal's 11th house. And one of the things we're going to be interested to look at is what house, meaning what area of life, did these major transits happen in. So the 11th house represents associations, professional groups, friend groups. So there was this very powerful new moon in opposition to Pluto, and the new moon happened in her 11th house. A new moon is like a deep reset in some way, some kind of new energy. This can be, new moons and full moons can both be very helpful and hopeful places to look at because there's some kind of a reset, a harvest, a release happening. With a new moon, we're really looking at a reset of some kind in relation to the energy of this house. Now, what's interesting is that 11th house is, again, associations and professional groups. And this woman is involved in the entertainment industry. And what's interesting about that is she's currently very directly impacted by the strikes going on. At the moment, both SAG and the Writers Guild are on strike, and so she's currently out of work due to this. And by the way, this is one of the things that's the same in either house system. All right, so we've got some kind of a reset of the energy happening. And as I mentioned, this new moon happened in opposition to Pluto. Pluto is in her fifth house. The fifth house is all about creativity. Now, Pluto has been traversing her fifth house for years and years. Pluto moves very, very slowly. So this is a transit of decades. This means we won't have Pluto visit all of the houses in our chart during our lifetime, unless you live to be hundreds of years old. But the area Pluto is currently in for years will show us what's up with the deep transformation. So the area of life where Cal is currently up for the deepest transformation and has been for a while is in her house of creativity, creative projects, fun, joy. This is all the fifth house. Fifth house, by the way, also rules having children, if that's part of your story. It's basically about creation from us of all kinds. All right, so we've got Pluto, which represents total down to the bone transformation, moving for years and years through her house of creativity. And that's one of her basic questions here, is about creative fulfillment while also experiencing financial fulfillment and stability. So Pluto's been transforming the fifth house. Pluto just had an opposition with a new moon, a reset, some kind of energy being shaken up in a strong way, facilitated by events in the 11th house of her professional associations. And the other really interesting thing about this new moon, it happened at 29 degrees. Was it 28 or 29? Was it 28 or 29 degrees? I forget, of Cancer. And it's in a conjunction with her natal Mars. Okay, so Mars rules action, creation, physical energy, movement, passion, sexuality. It also rules our anger, all of that fiery, intense emotion. But this is about like very active building and manifesting and creating in the 3D world is very Mars energy. So this super powerful new moon was in a conjunction with her Mars, with this creative energy. And of course, this also means that Pluto is currently in an opposition with her Mars. So this is the first, here we get to like the first major piece of the story of what's up. This energy of innate action, creation, building is in an opposition. An opposition is a challenging energy with the deepest transformational energy of Pluto. Now, remember, nothing in your chart is bad news, okay? When we see a meetup that is expressed as an opposition or a square, it's some kind of a challenging energy that is facilitating your transformation, your growth, your evolution through intense feeling events. And that's what she's been feeling, is intense stuff. And she's been feeling a lot of frustration and like stuckness. And this is also very well described here by this opposition between Mars and Pluto. So again, with Pluto, we're thinking like the deepest possible transformation, like the down to the bone transformation. Sometimes Pluto means things leave out of our control, things change, circumstances shift. Pluto rules death, literally and symbolically. And this force of energy, this force of the universe that we cannot fight, and the key word with Pluto is surrendering into the transformation. This deep, powerful energy is in a face-off against her natal Mars, that ability to passionately create in the world. And again, Mars ruling anger, with an opposition here, there's likely to be feelings of frustration involved. There's a lot of physical energy here. All right, before we move on to more about what all this means, let's talk a little bit about working with some of this. When we're working with Mars energy, we're really thinking about the body. We're thinking about so much physical energy in the body. And when we're working with Mars, working physically can be super helpful. So moving energy on a physical level, whether that's actually like working out or whether it's, punching a pillow if there's energy that needs to move, or crying or releasing, or even pushing on a wall, or feeling that energy going on inside of you is a part of the picture here. There's a lot of power. There's a lot of energy here. And in an opposition, it's going to feel intense. But one of the things that we want to do as we allow ourselves to evolve and grow through these up-leveling places, because transits like this are an up level when we can allow the energy to do what it's doing, is we want to allow all of that physical energy to be here. And obviously that doesn't mean using it destructively, but it means allowing it to be felt. And again, this is where physical activity may come in really handy, or somatic work of some kind, or active engagement of the energy in any way that feels productive. Picketing on the strike lines, if that feels good, like actually moving, engaging that energy is going to be helpful here, because there is so much energy in this standoff between all of that physical, passionate power and this deep, can't fight it levels of transformation. So breathing into that, we want to both embody all that energy, embody all that power, and also allow and know that deep, deep transformation is afoot here. Circumstances beyond our control are happening. And even at the same time that I'm going to say embody the fight energy, we're simultaneously allowing that there's more going on in the universe than we can control, right? We're going to circle back around in a little bit to some clues about what this Pluto transit might look like, because this woman had another Pluto transit a few years ago, and that's going to give us some hints. But when we're working with Pluto transits of any kind, the biggest, deepest energy is surrender. It's allowing that things may feel like they're breaking down. It's allowing yourself to go into the tears, into the depths of the emotion, into not in a passive way or in a victim way, but in a fully embodied and allowing way, surrendering into what is happening, breathing into the depths of what it is, and knowing that there is transformation happening here. Pluto energy is like a cauldron of deep transformation. And when we can get that, and when we can know that the feelings are okay, the intense, even extreme feelings are okay, and allow them to live and allow them to move, that's going to be step one in allowing the energy to move. All right. Let's switch gears for a moment and talk about Cal's natal chart, I want to talk a bit about her North and South node. North and South node are always super helpful to look at in any chart read. They tell the story of what your soul is ultimately here for, the deeper underlying purpose. We've got all these different pieces going on. We've got the career, we've got the relationships, we've got the different life events. And underneath it all, there's like a through line or a thread or a bottom line of what your soul came here to experience, to learn, and also to release. Let me describe South and North node real quick. The South node describes the past. It's what you came in with. We can look at this from a few different angles. It holds what you came in with as far as your lineage, like gifts that you may have brought in from the family line. It can also represent past lives and what you've learned and what you've been through. There's two important pieces to working with your South node. It represents the past. So on the one hand, there's going to be gifts that you have, that you own, that you embody from maybe lessons learned in past lives that you've gotten. You've done the lesson a whole bunch. You've got it. You're not here to learn that one anymore, but you are carrying an innate sense of these lessons, these gifts. Again, it can also represent your lineage and gifts that you may have just inherited and received, and just the stuff that's a part of you that is, you're so used to it. This can include gifts that you're so used to being in and doing that you don't even realize how valuable they are or how much work you've done. This is all South node. So the South node is both what you're coming in with that's super valuable, and also what you're releasing, because you're also releasing from the past, right? There's also stuff you don't need anymore. And you came into this lifetime to release the parts of the South node that are no longer needed, while fully embodying the highest level of the gifts from it. North node may be self-explanatory. It's where you're headed. It's where your soul is going in this lifetime. It's the ultimate direction that it's here to learn, experience, expand into, and be. All right. So Cal's South node is in Aries in the 8th house. North node is in Libra in the 2nd house. Let's talk about the house aspects of this first. The 8th house represents all of the deep, dark, hidden stuff that we hold as humans. Specifically, it relates to stuff around money, death, sex. If you think of all the shadow energy that we hold around these topics in particular, the 8th house is kind of like the basement where we store it all that deep, dark stuff that we may not want to look at. 8th house is the realm of trauma stuff, hidden stuff. 2nd house is the house of money and possessions and security. It's about security in this world, in this physical world, and that's represented by money, because that's how we facilitate being secure and taking care of our needs in the physical world. So with a South node in the 8th house and a North node in the 2nd house, and by the way, this is true in both Placidus or whole sign system, this is a common placement for people who have a journey in this lifetime around money, because this is what it's about. It's about a coming into a very grounded, clear, embodied, straightforward relationship with money, as opposed to the 8th house, which, again, it holds all the deep, dark stuff. The 8th house is also referred to as the house of other people's money. It involves things like inheritances, joint bank accounts, sharing loans, things like that. Again, you can sense how none of these things are bad in and of themselves, but there can be a shadow energy to them, meaning there can be a lot of baggage around things like money in relationship to other people, whether it's, jointly shared possessions or stuff handed down, or, all the stuff we hold around money, the drama around it, that's all eighth house stuff. So with this placement, there's been either in this lifetime, in the family lineage, and or in past lifetimes, plenty of drama around money and shared resources, and maybe complex entanglements where, when money is owed and shared, there's all kinds of interesting hooks, cords, ties, and drama that gets worked in there, right? That's all eighth house stuff. This is what Cal is releasing as a major part of her journey in this lifetime. Moving into a relationship with money that is for what it is. It's there to support us. It's there as a means of exchange. It's a very kind of, there's like a moving into simplicity around money with this placement. It's here to support you. It's here to sustain you. It's also okay. And sometimes this is a piece of the journey with this placement. It's okay to make having money and stability and security. It's okay for that to be a goal. It's all right to want that. Like, you're here to feel stable and secure and taken care of and abundant and wealthy. And it's okay to allow that to be, to release any potential shame or inherited or past life shame, or just like stickiness and drama. Whew, that is all getting cleared out in this lifetime as a part of the path. It's okay to require and choose to create for yourself stability, security, feeling in a good place with money. Like, it's part of what you're here to do, because there is a groundedness to that. There's a way in which we can create when we have that stability. And when we don't feel stable, and the second house, it's about more than money, but money is just a big piece of it. It's really about stability in this 3D world. And that allows us to really use our gifts, to really express and be here. But having that foundation and creating that foundation, one of the things I want to say with this placement is it's okay to make that a goal. It's okay for that to be important. So we've got this story of release of stuff around money drama. Again, also just release of all kinds of deep, dark, hidden stuff, which tends to kind of pull at our energy and keep us wrapped up in stuff instead of just being fully here, grounded in creation energy. So this is a big, big underlying theme of the journey for Cal here that obviously is coming front and center lately and right now. The other way we can look at the south node to north node journey is through the sign. The south node is in Aries here, and the north node is in Libra. Aries is the sign of I am. It's the individual. It's the warrior. It's the startup energy. It's the going and doing it for yourself, by yourself, getting it done. And Libra is all about partnership and balance and mirroring. So there's a journey of embodying the highest of the Aries energy, embodying that strength of who you are, while also moving into a journey of partnership. And because we're working with the second house here, I would say this includes very much a partnership with money, and perhaps a more working with money as a partner rather than like, I have to do it all myself, if that makes sense. Money is here to support you. The energy of money wants to partner with you. And also the energy of other people want to partner with you. All of this is part of moving into this Libra mansion of balance, of give and take in a beautiful way, allowing that giving and receiving to happen. So we've got quite a journey here going on underneath all of this career stuff. We've got this journey of, I'm going to call it releasing the drama and moving into the groundedness around money. Now, that may all sound great. And the question I'm hearing is, cool, how do we do that? So let's keep going. Next thing I'm drawn to look at, and by the way, notice I'm looking at like the slow moving planets here as a key piece of reading this chart. Next thing I'm drawn to look at is what Saturn is up to and where Saturn is in her natal chart. Saturn in Cal's natal chart is in the 12th house. 12th house planets are really juicy places to work with for me, because the 12th house represents the unconscious. It represents the depths, the dream worlds, the part that is out of our consciousness, but holds like the deep psychic gifts. When we have planets placed in the 12th house natally, there's a way in which these planets are very powerful, and yet especially in our early life, there's a way in which we either weren't or aren't fully connected to fully embodying the power and the energy of this planet and what this planet represents. Now, Saturn represents, the best image for me for Saturn is the farmer diligently tilling the field and tilling the soil day in and day out. And he's creating through that very diligent, disciplined work. And when we put in the work and we do the work and we do the work, things grow. That is a law of the universe. Now, yes, there's also all kinds of other factors, and industries go on strike, and, things go unexpected. And also, when we put in the work, sooner or later, results come, right? That's the energy of Saturn. That's the important principle to carry of Saturn energy, is where and how am I being invited and asked to put in the diligent, steadfast work. So hold that for a second. We're going to look in a minute in what's happening currently with Cal's Saturn, and it's significant. But before we go to the current moment, I want to talk about the fact that this Saturn energy, this energy of the farmer tilling the soil, is natally placed in Cal's 12th house. That means there's a way in which she does own this energy of very diligent doing the work, but there's been a journey of some kind through her life as a major piece of her journey of coming into connection with and really fully owning that energy. Again, in early part of our life, there's usually a way in which we either just don't quite get or connect to, or there's just somehow a disconnect. And this is part of our path, is coming into the embodiment and the full ownership of 12th house planets. So This Saturn energy, part of Cal's path is the full ownership of both diligently doing the work and the knowing and experiencing that when we diligently do the work, we get the results. It may be hard to believe that with this in the 12th house. It may have been really tough to believe that the putting in the work is going to bear results because there's that not full connection to that power. All right, so holding all that, as I'm recording this today, which is July 22nd, and this is pretty fascinating. It's always fun to see like what's going on, like right at the exact moment I'm recording, right? Or looking at a chart with somebody. And today, literally in like about an hour, we have Venus turning around to go on a deep retrograde journey. Let's talk real quick about Venus. Venus represents our heart center. Venus is all about giving and receiving. This includes love, also includes money. To know what's going on with your money story, we want to look at what's going on with Venus. And this goes for anybody watching this in July of 2023. Venus is about to go on a 6-week inward retrograde journey in the very passionate, fiery, heart-centered sign of Leo. And this Venus retrograde journey is an amazing time for clearing, revealing of, coming into connection with, and therefore being able to release whatever is blocking you being able to receive more fully. Again, this is about receiving love. It's also about receiving money. So over the next 6 weeks, there is a very powerful invitation for diving deep into all of the ways that you may be not fully open to receive, which is mostly probably unconscious. This has to do with past trauma. This has to do with hidden beliefs that we're not good enough, that we aren't worth it, whatever the beliefs are. It may have to do with inherited attitudes and beliefs and experiences about money that aren't even our own. All of the stuff that keeps us from fully opening, receiving, allowing in the full abundance and goodness of this life. This is represented by Venus, and we're about to go on a 6-week journey of clearing whatever these blocks are. You may be asking, how do I do that? I'm going to invite you right now, if you're watching this at any time around like the end of July, because we're just at the beginning of the journey. First of all, to set an intention right now that you are open and willing to be shown whatever energy, known or unknown, is in the way of what is allowing you to fully receive. So setting the intention to let yourself be shown, and then be willing to feel the stuff when it comes up. This Venus journey, again, is all about Leo, the heart center. There's a really important piece here that's about feeling the feelings of whatever arises, because that's a ginormous piece of how energy moves. When trauma's been stored, we don't feel it. We've often tucked it away somewhere. It kind of pokes up and torments us, but we kind of keep it at bay because at some point, the feelings were literally too much. It may have actually been too much for our nervous system to feel the stuff that we've stored away. You're here now in 2023 watching this as the resourced, conscious adult that you are, no longer perhaps the kid who experienced the trauma. And from your most resourced, conscious, awake place, the invitation I'm sharing here is to allow yourself to feel and to process and be with and move through whatever emotional energy wants to arise, in particular over the next 6 weeks. Set an intention that whatever needs to be felt is going to come up, and that you're going to lovingly hold space for yourself to feel it, that you're going to hold your nervous system in a safe, loving place so that you can allow this energy to safely process and safely move. If you are, by the way, new to my world, and if you don't have a little toolkit I put together called your nervous system toolkit, I'll drop the link in the comments if you want to download that. It's a group of somatic practices to support you in how to connect to yourself, how to regulate your nervous system so that you can move through the challenging emotions. So this is going to be my invitation, and this is for anybody watching in late July here. Over the next 6 weeks, set the intention, allow the emotional energy to move, to process, to be felt. You can journal about whatever comes up, but we are in a process of clearing whatever needs to be cleared. This is good news. So when the painful stuff comes up, it's actually good news. Hold yourself in safety, embrace the journey, love yourself through it, resource yourself through it, and let the emotion flow. All right. Bit of a tangent there. I went on about Venus retrograde, but this is important, both because it's a big deal and because for Cal, back to Cal's specific chart right here, this Venus retrograde for her is kicked off by a very exact conjunction with Saturn in her 12th house. All right, let's break all these pieces down. We already talked about this energy of Saturn natally placed in the 12th house. The fact that for Cal, this Venus retrograde is happening in the 12th house means these next 6 weeks are going to be a deep dive into the emotional realms, but it's going to be happening in some deep unconscious spaces. Whew. This means for Cal, this is a clearing of the deep stuff. This is a deep, deep clearing and a release of those 8th house matters that have been kind of mucking up the works, whatever that may look like, whatever old trauma, drama, money drama, fears around death, whether yours or someone else's, baggage around sex, whether yours or someone else's, whatever that like deep, dark, hidden stuff, that stuff, there may be some ancestral work here to be done, some deep clearing. This is all going to be coming forward. And this part is specifically for Cal because our 12th house is the other house of the unconscious, along with the 8th. These are sort of the two basements, if you will. So this Venus retrograde for Cal is moving through the unconscious places, moving through the just all those inner realms where we may not even see what's going on. And that's going to be key for Cal in this retrograde, is that during it, you may not be completely clear about what's processing while it's processing, because it's all happening in your 12th house. I will say this, the fact that there is this beautiful conjunction with your Saturn in the 12th house that is kicking off this retrograde, that brings me back to that idea we just talked about of how that principle of like tilling the soil and doing the work, there's a connection of that's coming more into being. And because of this very, very direct, right before going retrograde, most powerful moment with Venus, I would suggest that there's like an alignment happening, or like a syncing up happening between what the heart truly wants, and that ability to diligently do the work. Let me tell you the feeling I get when I look at this story for you right here, Cal. It's like there's probably already a connection to knowing how to work hard. And most of us know how to work hard and like know how to like churn out the stuff and, like keep trying to make it work. But it's like there's a way that wants to come more into alignment with the heart center. There's a way that it wants to just click a bit more so that this hard work ethic is a flow rather than a push. And to answer the question I'm hearing about the how of that, a lot of it is going to come from doing some energetic clearing of whatever stuff has been getting in the way. Let's talk a little bit about what that could look like. There's so much energy clearing you can do on your own with simply your intentions and your own energy work. It can start as simple as we described with setting the intention over the next 6 weeks. I am willing and allowing to see and feel whatever needs to come into my conscious awareness to release and clear. And then when stuff arises, knowing that there's no accidents, allowing that energy to clear and move by allowing it to be felt. So this is kind of a very basic, for anybody listening, a basic way to work with this stuff. Set the intention that you're allowing it to come forward. Be willing to feel the feelings. Regulate yourself through it, resource yourself through it, but allow that energy to be felt and to move. If you can do that step alone during this Venus retrograde period, and this is for anybody listening, this is going to clear so much, just that step alone. In Cal's situation here, because there's this 8th house stuff involved, there's potentially like ancestral stuff to clear here. You may want to write 1 or more letters to family, whether living or not. Just saying and expressing anything that may need to be expressed. Through that writing, moving the energy by speaking your truth, anything that needs to be said, whether it's parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, farther back, somewhere else in the line. Take a minute and tune in to what needs to be said. And you can simply write a letter and then either safely burn it or tear it up, or visualizing the energy being released and sent back to source. But some kind of ritual may be really helpful here. Some kind of ritual of intentionally kicking off this Venus retrograde, writing to release, and intentionally releasing to the universe. There is energy to be cleared here. Remember that the 8th house is also about gifts. There's profound gifts in all the stuff we've been through. And when we do this level of deep healing work, there are deep gifts there. All right, so back to Saturn. For Cal, there's a piece here that is about the claiming of that inner Saturn energy even more. This may not feel like the sexiest energy in the world, like show up and do the work. You already have this energy, but again, there's a way in which I think there's a wanting to be more fully connected between the heart center and the Saturn diligence. And this is going to be key because, again, this kicks off your retrograde experience. So on a practical level, during the out of work time, what would the most heart-centered, diligent, not pushed, not from a to-do list, oh, I should be working more place. Let's like clear all that out right now. But from a true heart-centered creative place. For example, if there's continuing to be some time of not working, what would the actions be for you to honor the depths of your heart, the depths of your desire, and very practically connect that to diligent, daily practicing your craft energy? What would that look like? That's being invited here. It's about, the key here, I keep saying it, is it's about the heart connection. It's not about doing the work out of an obligation place. It's about allowing the Saturn energy to be like a gift to yourself for what you want to create, and allowing yourself to show up and do the work from that place. All right, we talked about allowing the feelings to move, allowing the emotion to move, allowing tears, rage, everything to process and be felt. This is how deep energy shifts and clears. We talked about how this Venus retrograde is going through your 12th house. It's going to feel unknown probably while you go through it, but the more you can allow yourself to drop into the unknown. Writing might be helpful with this, journaling to kind of keep a framework for it. The more you can allow yourself to drop into the unknown places, allow the emotion to process, this is where stuff is going to move. Dream work may be super, super important in this passage too. 12th house rules dreams. It can be as simple as writing down your dreams in the morning, asking for any guidance from them. What am I being shown? What do the depths of me already know? Would be a powerful question for regular reflection throughout this Venus retrograde period. By the way, Venus retrograde, I don't think I said this, goes from today, July 22nd, through September 3rd. So that's the period that we are looking at. And this is going to be a time to go deep into the unconscious, to connect to the wisdom that's there. Dreams, meditation, channeling, spiritual practices that connect you inward. This is a time to go deep into your unconscious for the answers. And know that when Venus turns around on September 3rd, there's going to be so much more clarity that's able to emerge from the murky depths that you're going to be in for a little bit around all the stuff. But the more you can we say enjoy the murkiness, or enjoy the, when you delve into the dream world and things feel foggy maybe and not clear, but there's this fascinating other language or reality happening. Can you allow yourself to hang out in that space, maybe even to create from that space, to absorb that energy, to be in that depths of who you are in all of the richness of your unconscious? The more you can delve into that, the more clarity is going to come forward come September 3rd when Venus turns around. Okay. So to come back to kind of some of the practical bottom line questions, looking at all of this and looking at all these different stories we've been telling here, I don't personally get a sense of a need to like switch careers in any way. And that was kind of part of Cal's question, is should I be just doing something else? I don't get that feeling. I get the sense, and ultimately, of course, Cal, you will be the one to have your own answers and your own authority here. But the feeling I get is so much more about all this energetic, deep internal processing that wants to happen, that is going to clear up this surface level stuff. We want to go into the depths and face, love, acknowledge, be with all this juicy energy. Allow it to have some time over the next 6 weeks in particular to process, and know that the more we can allow those deep places, the more clarity is going to come forth. Again, going back to this, the 8th and 2nd house North Node journey, it's okay to making money a priority. Maybe that sounds really freaking obvious, but with this 8th house placement, again, we're leaving behind the tangles of like drama that we're used to. We're leaving behind an energy that we're used to around money of always being this like push pull wrapped around and tangled up in stuff. Whew, like your soul's journey, this is what you're here to do, is to move away from that energy. So there was a question of, should I get a job and do something else short term? This is something I can't give you a what you should do here because there's not an outside should. You get to choose. And the real question here is what's going to serve your heart? And only you can answer that. What is going to serve your heart and support you? There could be different possibilities. Maybe this time out of work during the strikes is a time that it's all about time and an abundance of time to delve into creative work and to choose to pour your energy into all that. Maybe it would feel grounded, serving, and supportive to your heart, to your creativity, to do something to pay the bills, not from a place of like, oh my God, I have to do this, but from a place of, this is supporting me. This is what I choose because I want my heart and my deep creative space to have that foundation, to have that structure. So there's truly not an outside right or wrong here. The question here is, what is going to serve your heart? What's going to serve your heart the most? Knowing that all this clearing is going to be going on regardless of the energy that needs to be shifted and cleared, what's going to serve you? And is having the stability of something else going to feel good to you, or is it not? Is it going to feel more like it's just taking you away from doing your true work? That's something only you can decide, and you're not deciding forever either. You also get to choose if you want to try something and not for a while. So it's okay to make stability a priority. And this is about what is most going to serve your heart and serve your creativity. And you get to choose and you get to decide. And you get to know that regardless, whether it's getting a temporary job, whether it's not getting a temporary job, you get to make a choice that every day you're choosing where your energy goes. And if that means you're at home working on your craft every day, you get to get up and make the choice and choose to send your energy there. And if it means you're getting up and go and do a temp job to support yourself, you get to choose to send your energy there as a way to support your creative heart. So it gets to be your path. Do all the energetic clearing work about the stuff that's beneath, because that's where the real answer here is, in the deep clearing of the depths. And over these next 6 weeks, a lot of energy is going to move. Alrighty. I mentioned I wanted to talk about a past Pluto transit for Cal. This is going to be clues here to some of this. And I don't have the specific answers, but I can give the energy patterns that are going to help clue you in to how you want to go. All right. The thing I want to bring your attention to is that, so Pluto transits are intense, right? And Cal had a very significant Pluto transit a few years back. It was a conjunction with her Mercury. Remember, Pluto represents the depths of complete and total transformation, our evolution at that very down to the bone. Everything seems to fall apart or die in some way in order for the new rebirth. That's Pluto energy. There was a conjunction of that energy with Cal's Mercury representing the intellect. Now, this is huge because I happen to know that Cal's specific craft and talent is she is a very brilliant writer. So a conjunction between Pluto and her Mercury would have been a very significant event for anybody, but for a writer, because this is about the thoughts and the mental energy and the words and the communication meeting a total point. It's not a point, Pluto's a long-term transit, a total experience of transformation. When did this happen? Well, this is freaking interesting to me because the very first pass peaked in March of 2020, which was also a significant time for pretty much everybody on the career and money front. So I'm going to invite you, Cal, if you think back to March of 2020, and we're going to look at a couple more passes of dates in a second. This was the first pass of a very transformational shift involving the way you think and communicate your intellect. So if you think back to this may hold clues because this was a very ginormous piece of your evolution. When Pluto conjuncts a personal planet, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, this is a ginormous evolutionary portal. So you went through some kind of a major piece of your evolution. First peak in March of 2020, then I'll zip through a few more dates of when it also came forward. And I want to invite you to think about what changed and transformed on these dates during these date periods. And for clues as to your career questions, I would invite you to think about who were you career-wise before these dates? What shifted internally? Because Pluto's all about internal shift. It's about a change in like fundamentally who you are. So what shifted and who did you become more of? What did your writing and your intellect become more like? There were probably some qualities either gained or lost. What lessons were learned? What kinds of transformations happened during these times? All right, let's look dates at this stuff here that I'm talking about. I'm going to go a month at a time, and we're going to go all the way back to, oops, I went too far. All right, so around March of 2020, and when I give you these dates, I'm giving, it's like a broad range. We're really talking, if I say March of 2020, I mean February through April as the first peak of this energy. But obviously March of 2020 was kind of a significant time. So that's kind of fascinating that was the first meetup, very direct meetup of Pluto with your Mercury. After that, actually it lasted longer. All right, so it went from March all the way through July was the first peak of this energy. So this would have been an intense time. March through July, it was an intense time for the whole world, but for your intellect, which by extension is your career, for the way you think and operate, there was major evolution going on. First, from the period of March through July of 2020. Then Pluto retrograded off a little bit. You got kind of a break. He only went a couple degrees off. And then he came back, met up again in January of 2021. Was a second pass of this transformational energy, was January of 2021. And then Pluto moved on. Then he retrograded back, came back again in August, again, give or take, August to September of 2021. Oh, and then again, he retrograded right there. So this was a longer one. So the dates here were March through July of 2020 And then January of 2021 was kind of a hit of it. And then you had another long kind of on August 21, but it lasted really, it was like August, September, October, August, September, October 2021. So bunch of transformation. Then it passed on. Yeah, and then it was gone. So those dates, Cal, I would invite you to look at what transformation happened in your evolution. And again, we're going underneath the surface here because ultimately you're the one that has the questions about, whether you should get a job or whether you should do this or that. Yes, of course, you should be writing everything in your chart is about your Mercury in your creative house and this ginormous transformation of Pluto going through your creative house and then meeting up with your Mercury. Your writing is all over the place. The deeper question here, I think that's going to give you clues, is what was the nature of the transformation that happened during these time frames? And if you can feel into the internal spaces and the internal shifts of what that was like. And again, because of this period we're going into involving Venus retrograde in the 12th house for you, I'll invite you to bring these questions to your dreams, perhaps to a meditation practice, to your inner wisdom. We're talking about Mercury, so maybe journaling, writing, asking for guidance. But going deep into what is beneath, what is the energy beneath the events that's going on here is really where it's at for you. All right, I'm just taking a final moment to look at my notes and take a last look for the moment at your chart. Oh, let's look at this. All right, you've got a Pluto in 5th house. I'm going to go back to now. All right. You've got, again, this Venus retrograde is kicking off for you with with a conjunction to Saturn, which we talked about why that's significant. I need to pause for just a second. Okay, I wanted to take a second to look at my dates before I continued. So we mentioned this whole experience of Saturn conjuncting your Venus, kicking off this retrograde for you. There is at the same time an inconjunct between this Saturn-Venus conjunction and Pluto. Once again, our friend Pluto here is playing very directly into your experience. This is why this all feels so intense. When Pluto is transiting your chart in any way, it's going to feel intense. And you have Pluto interacting on multiple levels. So the last transit I think that I want to leave you with here is that this very intense energy of Pluto is also in an inconjunct to this Saturn and Venus transit we've been talking about. The inconjunct invites a new choice. It's less of a major angle. It's not like a square or an opposition where things are feeling like this crazy in your face energy, but it's still really strong because it's Pluto and it's an invitation for a new choice. It's kind of like you've evolved to a certain point and what you've been doing up till now may have worked for the old version of you, but it doesn't work anymore. You're being very strongly asked, required to make a new choice through the evolutionary power of Pluto. And, Pluto just really finished coming through this meetup with your Mercury. So whatever transformation you went through in 2020 through 2022, specifically regarding your thoughts, your writing, probably by extension, your career, whatever you went through, you're now in a different place and being asked to make a new choice, but more than asked, like demanded by Pluto's unfightable energy. You're being asked to make a new choice in that thing we talked about allowing the energy of the work to flow from your heart. And that's what this is really about. That would be my invitation that I would leave you with, Cal, is how can all of this stuff that feels so fucking intense, and it is, I'm looking at your chart and I'm like, yeah, this is crazy intense. What if all that intensity could actually be the power of transformation working on you? And one piece of that, again, is allowing the feelings of this intensity to be okay, allowing the emotion beneath it to move, allowing the energy to move, and allowing it to work on you specifically so that your heart gets to show up, and your heart and your Saturn energy gets to serve your heart. Your energy of working hard, it gets to serve you. It gets to serve what you desire. So this would be my invitation here to bring to, again, your dreams, your meditation, your spiritual practice, as we go into this Venus retrograde. How can you allow your work ethic to truly serve your heart, and maybe to pull the energy back from some places where it's been working, but sort of a little out of alignment? What's going to serve you? Going inward, what do you truly want? What does your heart truly desire? And if you don't feel like you know, allow yourself to live in the question. And again, to be open over this Venus retrograde in particular, for the answers to drop in and for the heart to break open in the ways that may need to happen to allow the clarity to come through. All right, sending you tons of love, Cal, and everybody watching. Hope this has been helpful. As we move into this Venus retro, drop into your heart, allow this transformation to occur. This is big, deep, evolutionary, transformational work. Keep doing your awesome, amazing work, and I'll see you soon. Take care.